Good evening, everybody, or hello, as the case may be. Bill Zam here. This is a sort of special episode of Surrounded by Idiots. The contents of this episode are presented for commentary and educational purposes only. They contain images and audio files that were created by somebody else, and as such, we are using them under fair use laws and are providing commentary and information for the public at large. Now, most of you know, if you've listened to my shows on either YouTube or at a website, ussamichigan.com, or on our blogtalkradio.com page, that I am a Christian conservative commentator and reporter. I report the news, and I try to do it from a Christian point of view. I do not think of myself as a Bible thumper or a evangelist. I try to keep that out of my commentary and what I do, just simply because it is not appropriate with the type of work and reporting that I do. However, in this particular case, I feel that I need to dust off my cross and my holy water and give you guys some information that I have been researching for probably about 9 hours today before I fired up the microphone and the studio here to start bringing you this information. Now, a lot of this information is, as I said, from audio files and photographs, and here is one of the photographs now of what I'm going to be talking about. This was taken by somebody at the scene, and it is one of the photos of a crash that happened in Missouri in the United States. This is what remains of a Mercedes-Benz with a young lady by the name of Katie Lentz inside of it. A drunk driver was approaching her head-on, crossed the center line, and hit her car head-on. That is the front of her Mercedes-Benz, as the rescue workers attempt to get her out of there. You can see over here on the right-hand side of the photograph that behind there's a guy kneeling down there and a guy standing up. In between them, that is the grill of the car that has been pushed up that far, up to the top of the car. You can see this is a devastating accident that happened. Now, this occurred here in the Midwest, in Missouri of the United States of America. It is what we call here in this country the Bible Belt, the American Bible Belt. Here, a lot of people, Christians, churchgoers, family people, farmers, general industrial workers, we have a lot of faith. We have faith in God, and it is very strong, and we fully expect that God loves us and will perform miracles as needed. This is where they talk about when they say flyover country. This is where we work to produce your food. This is where we raise our families. This is where we try to adhere to the values that we were raised with. This is where we bitter clingers live, and we love each other, and we love God. The audio files are of two gentlemen, Fire Chief Raymond Reed, who was interviewed by KHQA television, as was Sheriff Deputy Richard Adhere. Richard Adhere was the first responder on the scene. He says that he was at another call, and when this accident occurred, they immediately redirected him to the accident because it was so horrific. Now, here's the thing about this story that I'm going to relate to you, and keep this in mind as I talk about this. Now, think about this. If God cares enough about some girl in the middle of nowhere on a highway that's in the middle of dying after being hit by a drunk driver, if he answers her request for prayer, imagine what he would do if we all asked for his help instead of doing what we do in our rote dogma and in our lives. Because you see, faith transcends everything and is worth more than all the gold in the world. So let's take a look at some of these photographs of this horrific accident. Here is the car up on its side, and from the young lady's Facebook page, here is photographs of her. Here is another photograph of the car from the back. You can see all of the foam, the firefighters' foam there, because when they use the equipment, it creates a lot of sparks, and you don't want the gasoline and whatnot to catch fire. And there's another picture of the young lady. Here is the scene with all of the rescue workers. Keep this particular photograph in mind when you hear about the rest of this story. You can see the highway is blocked off. Here is the fire chief during an interview. This is where this occurred. You can see from this photo right here that this is a very, very rural area. There aren't just a bunch of people wandering around out here. Okay? That is something that you want to keep in mind. The audio that I'm going to play for you in just a second comes after this story, after I show you this. This comes from theblaze.com. That's theblaze.com. The title of this story, written by Dave Urbanski, and it was published on August 9th of 2013 at 8:30 p.m. Dave was working late that night. The title is, Was Mystery Priest at Horrific Car Accident Seen a Beloved Catholic Saint Who Died 45 years ago? The saint that he is talking about is this fellow right here. This is we call him Padre Pio. That's Padre Pio. He was born Francesco Forgiani and was given the name Pius when he joined the Capuchin order, and he was popularly known as Padre Pio. And in case you've ever wondered where the phrase "don't worry, be happy" came from, it is in this man's honor. The most depressing day of the year, identified as January 22nd, is, in fact, Don't Worry, Be Happy Day, in honor of Padre Pio's famous advice: pray, hope, and don't worry. He is a patron saint. He was beatified on May 2nd of 1999 by Pope John Paul II, and he was canonized on June 16th of 2002, also by John Paul II. He is the patron saint of civil defense volunteers and Catholic adolescents. His mother said that he was able to see and speak with Jesus, the Virgin Mary, and his guardian angel, and that as a child he assumed that all people could also do so. He also had what they call stigmata, which means that the wounds of Christ were visible on his body. In fact, I have a photograph down here. This photograph on the left there is a photograph of Padre Pio with the stigmata wounds on his hands, the wounds of Christ. Here is another image of him in his later years performing Mass for his parishioners. And I want you to keep the image of him right there on the left in mind as we go back to this story right here. Here is an artist's conception of what this guy supposedly looked at. Some people that were there said the guy didn't look anything like this, and some people said, yes, he did. So take a look at that photo there. A rather serious, stern-looking guy with a receding hairline, and take a look at this guy here who looks kind of happy. Now, some of the people that were on the scene said he sort of looked like Walter Matthau, but maybe not. Let me zoom in on the page there. Online prognosticators have said that the priest could have been the Catholic saint Padre Pio, who died 45 years ago and has a very large following, with celebrities from actress Sophia Loren to vocalist Andrea Bocelli, devoted to the humble man from San Giovanni Rotondo. Pio was said to have suffered stigmata, or the wounds of Jesus Christ on the cross, throughout his adult life, possessed the powers of conversion, could heal the sick, and also had the gift of bilocation, the ability to be in two places at once. His wounds, his stigmata, bled continuously until he died. And here is the first part of the audio portion of this particular short episode. Rawls County Sheriff Richard Adhere was the first rescue worker on the scene, and this accident happened this past Sunday, and this concerns the efforts of getting this young lady out of the car. Here is an image of the sheriff from KHQA television. And here are the audio files that I'm going to play right here. This is the first clip. Sheriff Deputy Richard Adhere says that the emergency equipment, the jaws of life, and the other tools simply couldn't get the job done, and they were breaking.
The fire chief, Raymond Reed, had kind of stepped back and taken stepped away, and had come up to me and said he was concerned because he was out of options. The tools weren't working, and it was, by that time, I said almost an hour, and we're a little bit more, and he said, I don't know how we're going to get her out. And I said, Raymond, I promised her mother and her that we get her out. We have to get her out. And he said, I know. And he went back.
And next is an audio clip from the fire chief himself. The emergency equipment all failed in attempting to get the young lady out of the car, because this vehicle, a Mercedes-Benz, was constructed of much thicker and better materials than new vehicles are. Let's listen.
The materials it was constructed of were probably better than how cars are constructed today. It was a very well-built car, and when you compact materials like that one was compacted, they become even stronger because you're cutting through multiple things instead of just one layer.
And that is why they had difficulty cutting through the car. So what happened next is very interesting. And I am going to continue playing the audio files because the Sheriff Richard Adhere, he is at this point in his interview going to describe how the priest appeared on the scene and the direction that he came from. Remember, this is out in the middle of nowhere, right here. This is the scene with all of the traffic blocked off right here. This is the car with the young lady still trapped in it. And this is the damage to the car right here. Now, let's listen to his description of how the priest that many people are considering a miraculous appearance, how he appeared on the scene.
Well, it was a ways into the incident, trying to get Katie out of the car. Probably at least an hour into the rescue, to the incident, and a priest came up from it would be the north of Highway 19 from Center.
That would be Center, Missouri. The question remains: where did this priest come from? Did he just appear, walk up? How did he get there? Did he come from the cornfields? Did he just appear? Nobody, not Sheriff Adhere or anybody else, seems to know where he came from.
never saw how he got there, but it was the road was blocked off for quite a few miles, 2 or 3 miles, and I don't see how he could have driven up in a car, because he wouldn't have been allowed past the other emergency, responders that were blocking the highway, and it was way too far for an ordinary person to walk out there.
So that is Sheriff Adhere's, the deputy Sheriff Adhere's account of how the priest showed up. And let's listen to Chief Reed and tell his perspective of the priest appearing.
He came up and approached the patient and did offer a prayer. It was a Catholic priest, and he had anointing oil with him.
And that is a basic description of the mysterious priest that showed up. Now, it's pretty important to note how, if this was an actual angel, how they operate. She had asked for somebody to pray with her after about an hour. She said, "Could somebody please pray with me?" The priest was not pushy. He wasn't commanding, but he was respectful. Let's listen to the deputy once more.
And there was a bunch of emergency vehicles, fire trucks, and my truck that was parked on that side. And he came between and he asked if he could anoint the girl in the car. And at first, my first thought was that it would possibly send the wrong message to Katie, that maybe we had called a priest, that we thought that she wasn't going to make it.
In other words, he was afraid that she would think that the priest was there to give her last rites, which is quite understandable considering the seriousness of her injuries. I believe she's got a couple of broken legs, some broken ribs, broken arm, as well as numerous other injuries. But at the end of the incident, this is the part of the story right here that you're not hearing, and you probably need to hear it. You see, whether this was an actual angel or a priest sent there by God, the priest or angel did not just vanish after he prayed over this girl.
And so we just let him come up to the scene, and he used his thumb and he reached through the emergency workers and did the sign of the cross with his thumb, and had holy water or oil that he spread as he said a prayer. And he walked away, and then I'm not sure if Katie called him back. I don't even know if she knew that he was there, or one of the emergency workers called him back, and he went back again.
So he prayed with the girl, put the anointing oil on her forehead, and he was called back by somebody. And what happened next, amid all of this carnage and the rescue workers, can you imagine the noise of all the engines running and the fire trucks and everything else running? This is what happened next.
And when he was done, he came back and stood probably 15 feet away from where the car was, and he was there almost 20 minutes, I'd say 15 to 20 minutes, and he prayed the rosary. I saw a wooden, dark wooden rosary beads in his hands, and he was praying the rosary.
So this priest had a wooden rosary, and he was praying the rosary about 15 feet away from this scene, and Chief Reed describes what happened next.
That our tools would now work, and that we would get her out of that vehicle.
The priest came up to the chief, said, "Your stuff is now going to work. You can get her out of the vehicle." And that is exactly what happened. Another truck loaded with equipment from another town pulled up at that very moment, and they were able to pull her out of the car, loaded her up on the helicopter, and took off with her. Another interesting aspect is what the family said during their interview with KHQA television. Let's listen to this.
Where did this guy come from? We're looking for the priest. Whether it was just a priest as an angel, serving as an angel, or an actual angel that came in and and wearing the priestly attire, he was an angel to all those and to Katie.
We just would like to find this gentleman and be able to thank him.
I would submit respectfully to the family and to everybody out there. If you want to thank him, just look up. Now, the important thing to remember here is that this is not... Everybody says he was a Catholic priest. Okay, that's fine. He was wearing the black pants, the black shirt with the collar, and he had the rosary, so that obviously identifies him as a Catholic priest, and he anointed the girl. One has to remember, in this portion of the country, it's even though we have a lot of large dioceses and Catholic church in Missouri, it's not really Catholic country. This is for the most part Lutheran, Baptist, and other denominations sprinkled in. The point is that Catholic priests in that area are few and far between, and people would know who this guy is. Let's listen to Deputy Adhere.
The priest was probably 60 to 65 even, about 5'6". He was shorter, with a black shirt and pants, and he had the typical white collar and a silver metal, like an older looking cross, olive complected, and he had an accent, actually a very strong accent, and I couldn't tell you for the life of me if it was a Spanish accent or Italian or German. It was just an accent that I can't even place where it was from.
So now we know that he was a man around 60 to 65 years old, wearing the priestly garb, olive complected, and had a very thick accent. Maybe he was a priest with a migrant worker crew. Maybe he was their priest, or is their priest. Either way, he was sent there by God. He was sent there for a reason. And the sheriff deputy actually interacted with him. Now, can you imagine that? Being there and experiencing this, know that this is something very, very special while it's happening, knowing that this is either an actual angel or somebody sent there by God himself, and actually having the experience of interacting with him. Let's listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shook his hand, thanked him. An older man, an older priest that, and there's not many Catholic churches around here that he's from, that, in that area, and nobody there at the scene recognized him. Don't know how he got there or where he came from.
And they have no idea where he went. Let's let me go back to a few more things. Here is another audio clip from the deputy. Now, this story, and this kind of ties it all together with what I said at the beginning of the show. This story has affected people around the world. And what I want you to do is I want you to look right now at this insanity that's going on in our planet right now. And I'm not just talking human-made insanity with all of these civil wars and all the trouble in the Middle East and everywhere else that's going on, and all of the economic crises, but I want you to think about all of the flooding. Right now, there are so many major floods going on in the world. It is incredible. It is as if the skies have opened up, the earth itself has opened up, and the world is flooding. Look at the volcanoes, the earthquakes, everything else that's going on, the sun that's going crazy. Now think about this insanity. And in the middle of this insanity, here is a gift, a miracle, an act of faith that proves to us, all of us, one of two things. A, not all priests are those nasty pedophile satans that some people make them out to be. Or, God is still watching us and sends his children to help others. Let's listen to the deputy once more.
It's become a big news story, and I guess it's because people need that faith and that hope that are looking for it. And Katie was a pretty amazing girl. I've done this for a long time, 27 years as a police officer, and I've never seen a person as strong as she was. The whole time she never screamed out in pain or cried, or she just asked people to pray out loud with her. And it's amazing.
Yes, it truly is. Let's listen to, as we finish this up, let's listen to the last statement by the Deputy Adhere, and his final thoughts. And we are going to listen to Chief Reed, and he is going to sum it up rather well after this. Here is Sheriff Adhere.
Well, just like I said, I've done this a long time, and that's probably the most horrific accident I've ever seen that a human survived. And along with the priest, the story is Katie, her just incredible strength that she had. That myself, everybody that was there, were just astounded at her strength. She is destined to do. God has special work for her. That she was that strong, and all her horrific injuries that she had.
I have to agree with that 100% from the deputy. I also believe that God has special work for this young lady, as he does for all of us. And let's listen to Chief Reed and his final thoughts from his interview.
As a first responder, you don't know what you're going to run into. Everything is a case-by-case basis, everything that we come across. We have a lot of tools that allow us to do many things, and we have extensive training. In this particular case, it is my feeling that it was nothing more than sheer faith and nothing short of a miracle.
And there you go. That is the opinion of the fire chief that was there, supervising all of this. And I will take you again to photographs of the horrific scene. Once again, this comes from KHQA, and there is Katie from her Facebook page, and there are some scenes of the fire trucks, the fire chief, and the road that it happened on. And in conclusion, I would like to say that it would benefit all of us to remember this young lady in our prayers, and I hope she gets better soon. And I would think that she would probably be grateful for, I would guess, probably cards and things like that, if you can find out what hospital she's in. I don't know if it's appropriate for me to say that, but I have said it, so it's out there. So that's about it for this short episode of Surrounded by Idiots. Keeping with the theme of this show, I would say God's peace be upon all of you, and I certainly hope that you tune in for some of our shows in the future. Over at USSAMichigan.com is where you can find all of the information. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching.